Okay, so today we will be investigating all of the code in Stonehenge++. So, we're gonna start with the player, I guess. So, this is general movement, and also it sets some stuff at the beginning. So it switches the costume to player. The costumes just include the player dashing, recharging, and swinging. So it'll reset that. It'll set these, go to the center of the screen, and show. And then the player will always like appear at the front. If projecting is 0, so basically, if you're allowed to move, then you'll be able to move. And so if you move, your coordinate that you're supposed to move in changes by 2. M speed upgrade. So if you have the movement speed upgrade you can buy in the stone merchant, it'll move you an extra pixel. If you're slow, it'll move you. If you're slow and you don't have the roller, it'll move you back a pixel. And then if you're touching a color that you're not supposed to, it'll remove gap. And then it checks if you're dashing. And so it does that with each direction. It checks if you're touching tools, and then it'll determine what tool it is and add it. This is just the swinging code. This is the swinging code for stick 2, and also ceramic stick. Um, this is if you are touching stones, so it'll give you the stone. This is if stone taken is greater than 0. Oh, so this is returning stones to Stonehenge. And then menu showing, basically menu showing. And stone upgrades opened. It'll hide until stone upgrades is no longer open. And then tutorial showing, it'll make it so you can't move during the tutorial. Okay, so remove gap. Let's try and find this. Okay, so if it touches, so if you're like inside of a wall, right? It basically moves you back 1, and then so this is just so that if you get, because before, if you get stuck on a wall, like you could be 1 pixel away from the wall, right? And so you'd move 2 pixels, you'd be stuck in the wall. It'd sense that you're stuck in the wall, and it'd move you 2 pixels back. But that was a problem because then it left that 1 pixel gap. So this was basically to remove it. So it changes Y by -1. If you're fast, it'll change it again. But then it eliminates the possibility of you being 1 away because it just checks for that. And that's for each direction and color. So next we have a bunch of these small ones. So this always sets the volume to sound effects %, available in the menu. Handle dash costumes. This is kind of the reason why dash exhaustion exists. But it basically switches the costume to dashing player, starts the dash sound effect, waits some time, and then switches it to player. And this is more of that. So this starts a variable that is changed by the stone merchant. And if you are not able to dash, it waits a bit. You are able to dash now, and player recharge, and then it plays the recharge sound. And yeah, this dash time divided by 2 seconds until it goes back to the player. That is the reason why dash exhaustion exists because if you dash and then you dash again while this is going, I think the time stacks. If timer timeout equals 1. So this is basically if you're in the timer room up and to the right of Stonehenge, and if you time out. Charge equals 3. Okay, this is for the Alien King boss fight. If you're like if you hit him with 3 fireballs in a row, he'll open up, you know? So this is basically after he opens up, it'll teleport you back to where you should be. This is Extreme Dog Code. This is this is something for the uh where is it? The dash distance indicator. And yeah, it basically checks if you're on, you know. So it's a Boolean variable. Haha. More of them in Stonehenge. This sets the king health to 100 and basically manages the king's health. Um, and then it'll teleport you back if that. This is player go to, and I don't know where that's used. I thought it might be in respawning, but I don't think so. Player go to. Okay, well I just checked every place where I thought player go to might be, and it was in none of them. It may be completely unused. But I don't know. So that will bring the player to wherever they need to go. Um, in the event that they need to go somewhere. And so that's the end of that. And then we have dash movement. And so this is basically as long as you don't have the dash distance indicator. Um, so if you're going up, it'll check it if you're pressing space and you're able to dash and you're not like holding a stone without a roller. And then it'll handle dash costumes. This sets original chord to the original coordinate that you were at. And this is so that if it fails, it can set you back to the original coordinate. Because originally it set you forwards and then backwards again. And this actually works, unlike how it did in movement for the player. But the problem with this is that, like, if you as a player could like go up here, then like you can always dash into a new like area like this, but like uh, like if you were to dash here, sometimes like you get stuck on the edge and then it'd be blue, so you can't dash there. So it'll move you back 50 and it'll be less than when you started because like here, like I'm not close to the edge, like I'm not touching it. But if I dash, I would be at the top of the screen and then I'd well, here I'm like close to the edge, I mean. And then if I dashed, I would go to the top of the screen and it can't push me anymore. And then the blue would send me back 50, and so I'd go like here or something. And so that's why I've done original coordinate. This basically checks if you're using extra springs with jump boots, and then it'll change your Y. by another 25. And then this is basically like you can pretty much ignore this because that is if you're touching the wall that goes back and forth, then it'll give you a bit of leniency. Okay, and then this is basically fail if you're able to fail. And it'll start sound dash fail, return you, wait until you're not pressing space, and then you can dash again. Because of dash recycling. And so that does it with all the other directions. So we don't need to look around there. Use UFO. Pretty self-explanatory. So, there is code to use the UFO, like vertically, but it's never actually used in game because the only time that you use the UFO vertically is when you are going off-screen UFO, like into another screen in Stonehenge plus plus, and that is completely different code. And so basically, checks if you're going horizontal. Um, it figures out which direction it is from you, and then it'll basically move you to the end of the stick. Down here, this is some stuff. This resets music and other volume so that the music doesn't break, and uh, and then also it'll set your invincibility frames to 0, which I don't know if it's even used actually. Okay, so when you use the UFO, um, as long as you're not in backdrop 20 or backdrop 3. Oh, because yes. So backdrop 3. So this checks because backdrop 3 is north of Stonehenge, which is going to Alien Island, which uses different code. And number 20 is the up and down, I believe. Oh yeah, number 20 is the down from Alien Island. Um so then if multi-screen so this is multi-screen arrow appearances. So it starts sound UFO use. Deer are alive now. Um well, mainly tigers cuz like that's only what you're going to find in the multi-screen arrow appearance. Um it'll So yeah, this was a little bit of a nightmare to code because one screen had two arrow appearances, like one at the top and one at the bottom. So this checks if you're at the one on the top, and it was just a nightmare. So, and then it switches background, like it switches between the two that you want, which used a surprising amount of code to do that. um, yeah, these are things, and then this is like a random calculation because it was better than using more if else. And so this does a lot of things with switching backdrop because this is traveling to and from Alien Island. So it sets you to traveling, other vol to music so it can store your music volume. Switches the backdrop to traveling 1. It changes alien volume. So it slowly fades out alien volume, slowly fades in music. So it repeats this 25 times. And then sets it to traveling 2. And it switches between traveling and traveling 2, so it looks like it's actually like doing things. And so wait 0.1 seconds. And then it'll also move you. And then at the end, you go to Alien Island, Alien Volume to Other Vol, Music to 0, and Traveling to 0. And then this is the same thing but in reverse because that's going up. So then even more code. Yeah, the player is the most code heavy of all of the sprites. So this is going to the bottom of the screen. I don't know why it's separated so far from the other ones. But it will move you to the bottom of the screen and then do um it'll do some water help, which yeah. We'll talk about water help later. So if you go into a new room and there's water immediately there, it'll try and force you out. Is basically the premise. Okay, so here it sets stone taken to 0, so stone taken is 0. It basically resets all those stones. And then this is if you die, this is the death code. Originally it looked much better. But alien volume, like the volumes kind of broke and respawning kind of broke. So we had to do this. It's kind of a mess now, but so this is if you're an alien island, this is if you're not. And then this basically resets your HP for the boss fight to full. Broadcast you died, which is used I think in deer. No, I think it's used in like stones. That makes sense. And then you go to your respawn point. Okay. Item 3 of settings. Yeah, this would be. Wait, what would this be? Go to This is something about respawning. Oh, this is. Yeah, resetting. This is resetting. I use basically the same code. Sets new. Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, this is resetting though. And then it'll wait until you're not pressing R. Oh, and you can't reset in the alien boss arena because it would break some stuff. Alright. If projecting is 1, this basically makes the player like all gray when you've picked up a new stone and an announcement is showing. Well, not stone, but yeah, pointy stick, egg, UFO, all that stuff. Okay, this sets water help to 1. That'll be useful in water help, which is next. And then basically plays the Howling Wind in Alien Island and Traveling. Get unstuck. So this is water help. It does not activate if you have an egg because yeah. So you can go vertical or horizontal and basically it'll like keep moving you. So it'll move you to one side. It'll check if you're not touching anything and then it'll stop if you are not touching anything. Then it will move to the other side more and it keeps going. So, yes. So it might boost you a pixel um to or to so it tries to put you to the closest thing, but like it favors one side by 1 pixel. These are more things. So yeah, right and left use vertical, top and down use horizontal. And then that's just about it for the code in the player. And there's all this empty space because there's one just giant. Yeah. The main movement script is absolutely giant, so that's why you can scroll down this far even if nothing else is out here. But yes, this is the player all the code deep dive inside of the player.